Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's had a great week. So this week I'm going to be showing you a few pieces of equipment for rehab that I've used, and also give you a little bit of details on how my training's been going this week. So this week we've been doing a little bit of running, some 400-meter interval training, which has been excellent, getting that threshold nice and high. A lot of load down the knee, but feels fine, totally fine, doing about 5 to 6k each time. And we've also been doing a bit of open water swimming, which has been excellent. We've been out to the lake with all this heat. I don't know if it's what it's like where you are, but it's 20 odd degrees here in the UK and we're absolutely loving it. So training's been great, and if you do want to follow along with the training, I'm going to drop my Strava down in the bottom so you can follow along if you'd like, and maybe give you some inspiration on where you'll get with your knee. So we'll head on over and have a little look at some of the equipment I've been using in my rehab. So we're here to look at some equipment I've been using in my rehab over the course of the last year. I'm going to give you some good, some bad, some indifferent, but I've bought pretty much everything. So I'm going to take you through all sorts of different pieces of equipment here that I might use regularly or seldom use. I've had to don the shades because it's absolutely roasting here in the UK, as I said, 20 odd degrees. First thing we're going to start off with is something I showed you on the last episode as well, which is the foam roller. So I absolutely swear by this piece of equipment. For £10 on Amazon, you can do so much. It's so versatile. It's not just for your leg to do the extensions like I showed you in the last video. It can also be used to get into the muscle, to do some body weight on it, and just really get deep into some muscle tissue. So you can sort of stretch off, because I know I used to get a lot of atrophy, a lot of cramping in certain muscles or knots. Well, I can do some foam roller exercises, and if you're interested in that, hit me up in the comments and I'll put together a little foam roller stretching exercise that I used to do that gets rid of all the knots in the leg. Okay, next, ice. So again, I bought this thing off Amazon. Inside here is a little ice pack. I have about 3 of these. This thing goes in the freezer. It's frozen in a couple of hours maybe, and then I stick it in this little sleeve here. It's a lot easier when it's hard because it's obviously frozen, and then that wraps right round the knee like that. When I talk about ice all the time, these are what I'm on about. I don't get bags of peas out of the freezer, I don't get bags of ice or buy anything. I bought these straight away, and I was putting these on every couple of hours, as I've said. When it's hot, I'll be putting it on. When I've exercised, I'm putting it on. I actually have one for, I have a couple of these, because what you tend to find is your good leg takes tons and tons of load, therefore it needs ice, because it's getting really hot too. It's putting loads of pressure on your good knee. So I sometimes do ice on both legs at the same time for 10 minutes at a time. So this is an absolute must, and this for me is an absolute must. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you is this. This is like a knee sleeve, simple knee sleeve from Fortuna. Now you can get these in most pharmacies. My temptation was to use this to make me feel more secure when I'm walking around. Now my physio told me not to, because he wanted me to feel the indifference in my bad leg so that I could start to learn to walk properly and not rely on one of these. I do a lot of hiking, and I tend to get around quite a lot, 3-4 hour hikes. And I'll have to admit that sometimes I do find that this thing does help. It does give me a little bit more stability when I'm up on the rocks. But very, very rarely use it. I wouldn't say it's a must. But yeah, this thing's pretty good. And again, only a couple of quid, a couple of dollars, and you can feel a little bit more secure. But I wouldn't rely on it. I wouldn't rely on it. Okay, so next on the list is the TENS machine. Again, talked about this a lot, a bit more and more in depth in the last video, which is down in the description below. But essentially this thing is an electric current device. Comes with these little sticky pads, which I showed on the last vlog, and a bunch of modes. Now these things are about £12 to £25 on Amazon. Early days of rehab, I use this all the time. Probably for the first 3 to 4 months, I used this on some of the smaller muscles in the quad, as I said in the last video, the VMO, really trying to engage that muscle, and yeah, sometimes just to pain relieve as well. This thing's quite a good pain reliever. So I would stick this maybe here in the sciatic area, and it gives a little pulse, and it seems to numb the pain a little bit as well. Just be careful with it. Don't obviously charge it up too high before you stick it on. But for the price early on, this thing was fantastic. I don't use it anymore really, but it's always there in case I need it. But yeah, TENS machine, great. Okay, so next is this, a resistance band. I brought the red one out. I'm a big fan of resistance bands. Now, don't really use this a lot on the leg, but as someone who likes to stay active, I used it great for stretching. So you find when you're sitting in awkward places on the sofa and you're starting to get cracks in your back and creaks, if you just sort of stretch this out, you know, it's going to get all the stretching, get your back muscles going. You can sort of bend around, get some around here, and sort of get moving with this thing. It's so versatile that for what is about £6–7 on Amazon, they're great to have around. Get these ones, the chunky ones with the sort of square ones. I don't tend to get the real thin ones, but I have about 10 of these in the gym, all various resistances. But the red one or the orange one, depending on your strength, will help you with a lot of stretching in the upper body. And I have even used it in a sort of semi-leg press mode as well, for those who know about that sort of thing. I've put it at the bottom of the leg and pushed against it, you know, if I wanted to work the leg, especially in the early days. So the resistance band, for the cost, I mean, I use this every day. I would say this is an everyday item. I use it all the time. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, moving on to some more specialist equipment then. Going to talk about massage guns. So my partner's father is an Ironman. He's a fantastic athlete, and he has all the sort of gizmos and gadgets that an athlete like that would need. He was kind enough when I hurt my leg to lend me some of his massage devices for my sciatic pain and for the back and in the legs. What you will find is when you start using your legs again, it's a lot of taxing, and you'll start getting knots in your legs because they're just growing again, or your good leg taking all the load will also start really getting in a lot of pain. And I find the massaging, unless you've got endless amounts of money to get massaging done, is a great way to get and relieve that pain. So I use massage guns a lot. Okay, so what I have is something called the Theragun. Now this is probably one of the more advanced pieces of kits on the market. I bought this primarily when I went for my Ironman, so I didn't use it early on in rehab, but you can see sort of comes with a nozzle there, and you can warm up using it. You can get them, really work them knots out if you've got them, especially for those of you who are trying to regain that leg mass. You're going to get loads of knots, you're going to get loads of pain. I use this probably every other day, every 2 or 3 days on the legs, especially if I've done a lot of running, and even from upper body as well. I'll use this thing. So massage guns, massage devices are probably something I would recommend, but I wouldn't go and break the bank for it for a Theragun like I have. They are great, it's a lovely gimmick, and it does really get deep tissue, the Theragun, compared to the smaller ones. But for the price, I think these range about 300, maybe £350 UK. It's probably not worth that unless you're doing a lot of sport and you're really into the gym. Got a little cheeky one here, a little extra one. This one's called the Patellar strap. Now I picked this up going back to this one here, the knee sleeve. This is what a lot of pharmacies will sell. Now this one I actually prefer. Inside it is, I'll just open it up, is kind of a little piece of plastic. It's not too easy to get out actually. Kind of a rigid plastic in there. As you can see, it sort of bends as I move, and that sits just where the top of your patella is, so just above your kneecap. And I could go for walks 3–4 hours with that and I get no pain. It seems to aid compression on the tendon or aid blood flow. And if I have done a lot of workout, I'll wear it the whole next day. It's so comfortable to wear, I'll wear it the whole next day. It seems to really help with recovery. So again, when you're putting a lot of load through the leg, I never used this early on in rehab, not for the first 9 months I would say. Picked this up a lot later when I started being a lot more active. But this thing, again, about £5–6. I should probably do a new one because it's been used so much, but really love this thing. This thing more so than this, because this one doesn't make you feel like you're compressed and you're totally stable. So you still have to work at it, you still have to work around the joint, but what it does is it gives you patella like a little bit more. I don't know what it gives, but science wise I'm not entirely sure, but I get no pain, I get no strain from it, and it really helps with the recovery. So this over this, without a shadow of a doubt. Now for the last piece of equipment I'm going to look at is something that if you're into CrossFit or powerlifting, you're probably very familiar with. I've tended to stay away from these most of the time in my sort of athletic adventures, my gym routine, but when I did hurt the leg, I thought I'm going to have to start doing heavy squats again, I'm going to have to start doing heavy deadlifts again, and not super heavy, but heavy for me, especially after injury. So I treat myself to some SBD knee sleeves. Now these are what all the powerlifters, strongmen, they use. Now these things are so hard to get on the leg, they're so tight, you've got to be measured, you've got to take measurements for these things. And I'm not lifting 200, 300 kilos on deadlifts or squats, I'm not some superman at lifting things. But my God, when I am doing the movement, the stability I'm getting out of this when I'm doing that particular strength activity, and then when I move on to my accessory work, I take them off, you know, so I can really work the joint and work all the other little muscles. But when I want to do something a bit stronger to try and grow that muscle, I use these SBD knee sleeves. So they're more for the advanced technique. They're not super cheap either, but I definitely give them the thumbs up if you're really into your fitness. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. A very equipment orientated video. If you want to follow along, put the Strava at the start with my adventures towards my Ironman, and next week we're going to do something a little bit more adventurous. We're going to get out, we're going to go running, and we're going to go and do some activities together, so you can see sort of the strain, the pain, and what we can do now after a year of rehab on the patellar tendon. So I do document a lot of my fitness journeys on an Instagram handle, Lost in the Lakes. That's right below as we speak now, that's Lost in the _lakes. And if you've enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, it really helps the channel, and it really helps other people. Have a great week guys, hope you enjoy the video, and we'll see you next Friday.